Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm Yasmin Khan. I'm in for John Iadarola today. He is out, and it is Friday. It's a beautiful day here in Houston, so I can't wait to get outside after this show is over. But I am joined with Jordan Uhl. Jordan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, yes. Happy to be here to fill in for Brett.
Yes,
A lot
yeah.
of people say I'm a more handsome, a funnier, and more hairy Brett Ehrlich.
They
So
do say that, yes.
yeah, they're always saying that.
Typical. So here, what a treat for our viewers this Friday. Just the better version of Brett today. Is Brett watching? Okay. Well, anyway, we do have some garbage people for you today, as promised, for every Friday on the Damage Report. We do have a lot of other stories to get to, though, before we get to those garbage people. So let's get right into it. Our first story, there is corruption in the air. Once again, Elon Musk has found himself somewhat in the middle of a conflict of interest, though he doesn't seem to think so. This time, he could stand to gain $2.4 billion in a Starlink government contract at the expense of Verizon. This is a headline from the Daily Beast. It says the FAA could cancel $2.4 billion Verizon air traffic control contract and give it to Elon Musk's Starlink. I suppose we're just supposed to trust that Elon Musk can identify a conflict of interest whenever he's the one who's involved, because, that's what the Supreme Court does, right? Everybody is able to hold themselves accountable in this Trump government. So Elon Musk is no exception, it would seem. This week, though, Elon Musk began pointing fingers at Verizon for putting air traffic travelers at very serious risk. I'm traveling tomorrow, so this is not very reassuring. He tweeted on X, the Verizon system is not working, and so is putting air travelers at serious risk. We'll see. But this seems to be an emergent behavior that we're seeing in government. This is a common tactic that has been happening a lot lately. They either manufacture a problem or they exacerbate an existing problem, say, look, the government, it's not doing its job. It's no good at this. So we need to go to the private sector. And the private sector is able to enrich itself off of these problems, but they're able to sell it to the American people and to the public because look at how badly it's doing already. This is inconvenient for you. It's just a little ironic that they're still using that argument when they're the ones actively currently in charge of the government as well. So anyway, employees at SpaceX have already begun working inside of the FAA in recent days to quote unquote modernize the agency's technology. So this is reporting from the Washington Post. It says several of the SpaceX employees now have FAA email addresses, according to two people who have seen the addresses, speaking on the condition of anonymity for fear of retribution. FAA regulates SpaceX and has alleged that the company has violated safety rules relating to its rocket launches. Meanwhile, this whole problem traces all the way back to Doge. If you didn't see that coming, some of the 400 jobs that were cut at the FAA help support air safety, a union says. So surprise, surprise, whenever you get rid of jobs that are in charge of certain things, then things start to fall apart and crumble. You would have thought that Elon Musk would have learned that from his disaster whenever he purchased X or Twitter at the time. But I guess he's just kind of repeating the same thing because in his mind, X is still up and running. So what's the big deal? More reporting from Rolling Stone. Fired FAA staff includes air traffic control support staff, half of the obstacle impact team that studies and identifies hazardous obstacles like new buildings and cranes to inform flight paths around the country, lawyers tasked with keeping drunk or reckless pilots out of the skies, and an airman certification worker medically clearing pilots to fly. So none of that is very reassuring. But Elon Musk, who is in charge of all this stuff, he doesn't seem to think that those roles are very important. But there's this thing that happens with very, very rich people, and Elon Musk is the richest person in the world. And this is actually kind of a bit of a divide between left and right as far as ideologies and the way that they perceive the world and the people in it. Elon Musk has so much money that people on the right, people who support people like Elon Musk, are more likely to ascribe, genius to that person. They'll say, "Oh, you're so smart and so hardworking and that's why you have all this money." It doesn't work out that way because an argument can be made that Elon Musk is not actually a genius. And take a look at this tweet if you need any proof of that. He doesn't really know what he's talking about. So someone tweeted a picture of a map of a flight from Houston to San Francisco. That is a flight path. And they say, why is this plane not flying in a straight line? And Elon Musk responds, it should be, which is dumb. That is dumb. That is a very dumb take. It's a dumb question to have asked in the first place. And it's a dumb thing that Elon Musk responded. So not quite genius. I didn't know that Elon Musk was a flat earther, but here he is. So his stupidity is on display there, or at least his willingness to foment some kind of conspiracy theory. I don't even know what this would be for, but this is just another huge conflict of interest in the Trump administration. He's leveraging Elon Musk in his position to gain these contracts, but there are a few things, a few people who are resisting this. According to the Washington Post, the agency was scheduled to make a final decision on whether to start paying Verizon for the contract next month. Instead, Musk's team determined the job should go to Starlink. Several senior FAA officials have refused to sign paperwork authorizing the switch, so Musk's team is now seeking help from the acting administrator of the agency, Trump appointee Chris Rushlow and Duffy. So, conflicts of interest. Jordan, what do you make of all of this? I mean, the idea that somebody can self-regulate, the fact that all of these conflicts of interest are so brazenly on display, and yet they're going to deny that this is a problem. Where do we go from here?
Well, yeah, I want to remind people of how they've asked or how they've responded to questions about conflicts of interest over the past few weeks. Elon Musk in the Oval Office, when asked about how many SpaceX contracts the government has and whether that presents a conflict of interest, he said, oh, well, you would need to look at each individual contract, and I have nothing to do with that. And of course, Starlink is a subsidiary of SpaceX. Crazy coincidence that the alternative to Verizon, like where were these issues? If the Verizon system was so bad, where were these issues with flight safety, with near misses, with crashes, with planes having malfunctions? And not just in the Boeing context, there was an issue there, but that was an issue of cutting, like corporations trying to cut corners, but tarmac safety, basic stuff, air traffic control, that didn't exist a couple months ago. So they're creating a problem that the solution is giving a contract, just moving it from one provider to another. It is clear and brazen. Caroline Levitt said he would self-report and remove himself. It doesn't seem like he did here. You're pointing out these problems are created by Doge, and lo and behold, a SpaceX subsidiary could get this contract, as he's also publicly trashing Verizon, which is the current provider for these systems, on his social media platform X. Like, everyone needs to take, and I know we do often, but mainstream media, Democrats in Congress need to take a long and hard look about the ways in which we allow billionaires to control our society. And you can't just pick and choose the good and the bad ones. When you have that much money, that much money and influence over our politics and over our system, it makes it incredibly easy for somebody like an Elon Musk to enter, or at the very least, influence the government at their whim. And you can say, oh, well, the billionaires who donate to us are good and the ones on the right are bad. But there has been reporting over the past couple of weeks that the quote good billionaires on the left are just abandoning ship because they want to curry favor with Trump, so it helps protect their money.
Yeah, and that's the thing that people need to remember with billionaires is that they go wherever the money is. They are opportunistic in that sense because they love to, I mean, that's how they ended up as billionaires in the first place, right? You don't just become a billionaire without being an incredibly selfish and greedy person and a very opportunistic person. Maybe best case scenario, you're a person who loves to win, and you get addicted to that feeling of winning. And again, you don't get to the point of billionaire status, especially not to the point of being the richest man in the world, unless you really are kind of addicted to that feeling. So then the idea that somebody like Elon Musk would not only be willing, but even able to self-regulate as far as, saying no to something that would obviously make him millions or billions of dollars more, he's not going to be able to do that. And he has no incentive to do that. He has been given such unequivocal power over this government that he's not even technically a part of. He wasn't elected, and he was given control of this agency, even though the White House is now disputing that he is in control, which makes no sense. But he's been rewarded constantly for the way that he conducts himself in business and with governments around the world. So of course he's going to keep going, and it's never going to be enough for him or for people like him. So that's fun. But the corruption, unfortunately, continues. So here's this. The Trump administration, which is, as we know, it is demonstrably like full of people who are cheaters and liars and things like that. But now they're protecting companies who are also lying to their customers and cheating their customers out of money. So from NPR, it says the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau on Thursday dropped 5 major legal cases it had underway, including a big lawsuit against Capital One, marking a major reversal for an agency that had pursued aggressive action against financial institutions accused of wrongdoing during the Biden administration. So here are some of the investigations that have been dropped. Capital One was accused of cheating millions of banking customers out of more than $2 billion in interest. Heights Finance was accused of loan churning practices that harvested hundreds of millions of dollars in costs and fees. Pennsylvania Higher Education Assistance Agency was accused of collecting on student loans discharged in bankruptcy and sending false information to credit reporting companies. Rocket Homes accused of providing incentive to real estate agents and brokers who steered home buyers towards its loans. And Vanderbilt Mortgage and Finance was accused of trapping people in risky loans for manufactured homes. And the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, with Russell Vought as the temporary leader, dismissed these cases without prejudice, which means that they cannot be refiled. So it's never going to be a thing again, right? It's not going to come back up. They've weakened the CFPB however they can with all of these firings, and we're just beginning now to see the effects of this. Here is a headline from USA Today. It says thousands of consumer complaints have gone unanswered now after Trump has purged the CFPB. So Senator Elizabeth Warren is speaking out on behalf of all this, on behalf of the people, all the customers that have been screwed over by companies like this. She said, literally, while you've been sitting here and you've been talking about the importance of following the law, we get the news that the CFPB is dropping lawsuits against companies that are cheating American families or alleged to be cheating American families. Warren said, it seems to me the timing of that announcement is designed to embarrass you and to show exactly who is in charge of this agency right now. It is Elon Musk and his little band of hackers. And that is very succinctly put by Elizabeth Warren. As we know, she is usually on the side of the American people and the workers, and especially people who are victimized by predatory corporations and companies who are obviously taking advantage of the American people. And the fact that the Trump administration is now saying we don't even need to investigate these cases or these alleged cases where they have been cheating the American people out of their money, out of their time, whatever it is, whatever their resource is, it is very distressing because it is only going to help to empower these companies and this kind of bad behavior in the future. Jordan, what do you make of this?
Yes, it's getting even worse. CNBC reported this morning, and we're going to cover it on hour 2 tonight.
Yeah.
They're planning on shutting the CFPB down entirely. There's new reporting that shows they're planning on laying off all employees and shuttering the agency entirely. So dismissing all of these cases was step 1. Then it's just gutting it, laying everyone off, and corporations have a free pass to go back and just screw over consumers. Let's talk about what exactly they're doing. It is big banks who want to charge people high fees and interest rates. They want to charge overdraft fees again. They want to slap on all those ridiculous fees on concert and event tickets. I mean, we had this national conversation over the past couple of years. People were fed up with a monopoly, Live Nation and Ticketmaster, slapping ridiculous fees on concert tickets that in some cases were like 60 to 70% of the sticker price. For what? Just so they can profit off of you. Like, do we care about inflation or not? Do we care about people being able to make ends meet or not? Because I thought Trump ran a campaign based on addressing people's material needs and the cost of living. We all knew it was bogus, but now we're seeing it play out because one of the first things he's doing, his first 2 months in office, it's, hey, big banks, Wall Street, giant corporations, monopolies, go. It's open season. Screw these people over. We don't care about them. We don't care about their financial well-being. All we care about is your bottom line and your ability to return on investment for your shareholders.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it makes sense though, right? I didn't know that they were planning to shut down the CFPB entirely, but it makes sense because if they don't have any cases that they're working on, then what is the point of them? Let's just shut them down as part of this whole movement to make the government more efficient. So if there's nobody there working on any cases, then we don't need them at all. It is very distressing. It's also a little confusing for the people who still support this administration and the work that Elon Musk is doing, because this is something, consumer protections, that's you, that's most Americans, right? That is anyone who has ever bought anything ever, anyone who has a bank account, anyone who has any kind of subscription service to bigger ongoing services like your internet and things like that. All these people, that is every American, is subject to what's happening here, and they need to be protected. And we have instances where these things have actually impacted our lives in a negative way. I can't even remember the last time I went to a live show actually because of all the Ticketmaster stuff that was going on. So, which is really sad because I shouldn't have to sacrifice something like that. But here we are. Um, with that, we have a lot more on the other side. We're going to take our first break. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome to the break. I'm Yasmin. We have some comments here for you, so we're going to look at some of those. Let's see. New YouTube members and member gifts. Benjamin Morel has gifted 1 damage report membership. Thank you very much. 1 from John Fox and 5 from Donkey Hoti. Donkey Hoti. That's a fun name. Thank you very much. Super chat and YouTube comments. Let's see. Rage Rock for Now has gifted $2 and says, MUSK stands for Make United States Crappier with a K. That's fun. I do like that. Someone says, if we can't have the John and Brett show, the best are filling in. Loving Yaz and Jordan Friday. And congrats, Jordan. Yes, congratulations. Jordan just got married last week, was it?
Yeah, it was this past Saturday. Thank you. It's very exciting.
Yeah, we were talking about how strange it is to just get married or go through something so crazy and big like that, and then just have to come back and talk about Donald Trump or Elon Musk or like whoever else is on the docket for today. And Jordan and I are actually both doing double duty today. So on the main show later tonight, I'll be hosting the first hour and Jordan will be on the second hour. So long day for us, but a good day, hopefully, for the rest of you guys. Let's see, Late Bloomer 66 says, remember chat, boycott corporations, support your local small businesses today and always if it is feasible in your lives. And that, thank you, that is a good reminder. Especially with that last story, we were just talking about how we're also beholden to these corporations and it feels like we don't have a whole lot of power as far as voicing our opposition towards the things that they do and the way they conduct business and the things that they support. And Jordan actually brought up a good point in the last story where he said these billionaires, they're even the ones that were deemed to be left wing, they all now seem to be supporting Donald Trump. And a big part of that is just because that's where the money is, that's where the power currently is in this government. When the reality is the power should be with us, with the people, right? We're the ones who elected these leaders, but we didn't really elect these technocrats to be as powerful as they are in this government. So if you can, today's the economic blackout. So we're not doing Amazon. We're not shopping at major chains, no fast food. If you have to buy anything today, try to shop more local or try to use cash. So hopefully this can have some kind of economic impact on the rest of the world. So let's see what else we got. Over in Twitch, we have from Mr. Mintler, Jordan didn't get married. Some hatless impersonator did. Jordan, what is with these people in your hats? Like, what? All the comments we ever get whenever you're on is about your hats. And I think it's funny.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it would have gone over well if I
The
wore a
wedding.
hat during the ceremony.
Yeah, yeah. Usually, the headgear is reserved for the bride at a wedding, so none.
She
Which
yeah,
is
she wore a late Dodgers fitted just backwards.
a Dodgers fitted veil. Very, very. I had a veil at mine, and it was good. So yeah. All right. So coming up on this on the for the rest of the show, we have some good stories. A lot of a lot of economic stuff going on and a lot of corruption going on. And it's really sad because, that is the state of the country as it is right now. But hopefully, we're all going to get through the next 4 years or maybe the next two in time for the midterms. All right. So, with that, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Damage Report. I'm Yasmin Khan in for John Iadarola, and I'm here with my good friend Jordan Uhl. And we are co-hosting and we're filling in for Brett and John today. So let's get into our next story. It is not a fun one, but it'll get better maybe this Friday. We're going to talk about fascism and profiteering. War profiteers really are the worst people maybe in the world, but they have reason to be happy right now, which is not good for the rest of us. War profiteers, they're ecstatic, elated right now at the prospect of a more powerful immigration industrial complex, which is as horrendous as it sounds. And now they're pitching contracts that seek to ease the logistical difficulties of detaining and deporting millions of people. And Trump is inhumane in his operations that he is probably going to consider all of this. So from Politico, we have reporting as it says a group of military contractors, including former Blackwater CEO Eric Prince, has pitched the Trump White House on a proposal to carry out mass deportations through a network of processing camps on military bases, a private fleet of 100 planes, and a small army of private citizens empowered to make arrests. So that's not scary or dystopian at all. But Prince has close ties to Trump and another contractor. He has close ties to Bill Matthews, who's provided security training and logistical support to US forces in both Iraq and Afghanistan during the war on terror. So the blueprint, as is laid out in a 26-page document that President Donald Trump's advisors received before the inauguration, carries an estimated price tag of $25 billion and recommends a range of aggressive tactics to rapidly deport 12 million people before the 2026 midterms, including some that would likely face legal and operational challenges, according to a copy obtained by Politico. That is an unreal number, and we're going to break down how unreal it actually is. I feel like we hear numbers like 12 million all the time, and we're like, no big deal. That is a lot of people, and the amount of time that they're willing to do it in, or that they're trying to do it in, is it's unbelievable. So here is what their goal is laid out: deporting 12 million people in 2 years would require the government to eject nearly 500,000 illegal aliens per month. The document says. To keep pace with the Trump deportations, it would require a 600% increase in activity. It is unlikely that the government could swell its internal ranks to keep pace with this demand. In order to process this enormous number of deportations, the government should enlist outside assistance. So that is where the militia aspect of this comes into play. That is 500,000 people per month. That is an unbelievable amount of people. And it's not going to be pretty if that is what they end up doing or even trying to do. So this is what carrying out something like this would actually look like. Temporary camps inside US Army facilities could be constructed in less than 1 week. 2 USV would supply the government with 49 planes for deportation flights, according to the proposal reviewed by Politico. The proposal also calls for deputizing 10,000 private citizens under the command of Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, and empowering them with the same authority as federal law enforcement officials. So at the federal level, this is the kind of just protections that they're willing to give to these people who are going to help them hit that goal. The group also proposes forming a skip tracing team to use existing records to locate deportees while sponsoring a bounty program, which provides a cash reward for each illegal alien held by a state or local law enforcement officer. So that too could present potential legal hurdles because local officers in many cities and states do not have agreements to act as immigration officers. And that is reporting from Politico. So there's a lot of legality that is in question here. There's a lot of constitutionality that's coming into question here. But the selling point for this whole operation, the reason why they're willing to risk all of these legal and constitutional challenges is this: in order to save the US economy, the nation has to eject as many of these illegal aliens as quickly as possible. That's what they're telling the American people. And it all is more political than anything. They need to secure votes for their midterm election, right? And they know that a lot of people vote for them because they don't like illegal immigrants, right? That is one of the major Republican talking points, and it has been for a long time. So now that Trump is back in office, he kind of has to back up, or at least seem to back up, a lot of his big talk that he's been spewing for, over a decade now. But you cannot eject 12 million people from the American economy. And just a reminder, these are people who contribute to the US economy. A lot of them pay taxes. You can't get rid of 12 million of those people without suffering some kind of economic shifts, right? So we can look at some of the projected economic consequences of mass deportation. This is from the Peterson Institute for International Economics. And it says, if Trump's deportation plan were enacted, US GDP would be between 1.2 and 7.4% below baseline by the end of 2028. So that would be by the end of the Trump administration. And that would be a hell of a legacy for him to leave behind for the rest of us. We can also look at the fact that immigrants really have no impact on one of the major issues that is affecting American consumers today. And we're going to get into this in the next story a little bit more. But it says, from egg prices to housing, US inflation is heating up again. Measures of input costs and inflation expectations are rising. Consumers and businesses brace for higher prices from tariffs. So are all of these deportations gonna solve these issues for the American people? It is unlikely. Yes, I get that there are several factors that contribute to overall well-being for people in a country, but I wonder if people are focusing on the wrong things, and I wonder if the proposed solutions are just going to make things worse rather than better. What do you think, Jordan?
Well, you talk about how by the end of Trump's term, GDP could be between 1.2 and 7.4% below baseline. It's the end of 2028. This morning, the Atlanta Fed updated their GDP projections for Q1 of 2025, and now they are projecting a 1.5% contraction. And 4 weeks ago, it was 3.9% growth. So we might even see that shift sooner. Part of that is because of all of these cuts to government spending. You have all of these people who are going to be newly unemployed. Part of economic growth and what fuels our economy is middle class consumption, on top of all of these millions of people that we're going to be allegedly deporting who still spend money here, who still pay their taxes. So all of these policies are going to result in a potentially major economic contraction, and it's all because of Trump at a time where, like you point out with egg prices, people are concerned about their financial well-being. He doesn't care about that. He has never cared about that. And also, to go back to the point of this story, you have war profiteers, but also the private prison industry. You have CEOs of groups like Core Civic and CCA, major private prison companies gleefully celebrating on investor calls about how they're the happiest they've ever been, how this is a new era for them in terms of profitability, because they see themselves as a vital cog in this callous machine where we're treating people as basically waste. We're treating human beings as disposable waste. We're going to be rounding up millions of people who want nothing more than just to make a life for themselves here, to be in their community, to be with family, and to find a better future here than the country they left behind. It flies in the face of the American ideals that I understood from childhood. We're supposed to be this beacon on a hill and a land of opportunity. And instead, we're picking people based on nationality, past nationality, ethnicity, race, and in some cases, religion, and we're kicking them out. Is that the future we want for our country?
Yeah, it all feels very short-sighted. It all feels unsustainable, right? If you have an issue and you can say illegal immigration is an issue in this country, then come up with a solution that is both sustainable and humane and is going to have some kind of long-term lasting impact, right? Without having this huge buckle in the American economy. And everyone know, look, the presidency can it can have some impact on the economy, although it's not really a direct impact. As always, there's a lot of things that can impact the various fluctuations in the economy. But when it comes to something like this, so this is a deliberate attempt to eject 12 million people from the economy elsewhere, outside of it, right? There's no way there aren't going to be massive ripple effects of that. And some people, I feel like you can hear the word like 1.2% or 7.4%, think that's not actually a lot. It is whenever you're talking on such a wide scale and such a big scale, and whenever there's so much money involved and so many people involved. So I wonder what the Republicans, I wonder what their long-term strategy is here, because we know that a lot of Americans, especially Republican voters, vote based on the economy, based on their perception of the economy and how much money they have in their own bank accounts, how much they're paying in taxes. So a lot of these policies that we're seeing from this administration seem to be not supportive of those things, right? They've raised the taxes on most of their constituents, most of their voters, and now they're doing things that are going to cost American voters even more money. And the only reason that they're able to get away with it so far is because they have spent the better part of the last decade, at least, harping on things like illegal immigration and convincing their voters that this is a real problem that you should care about beyond the other issues that you actually do care about. So there's a lot of PR going on here, a lot of politicking going on here, but at the end of the day, the economy is what is going to be the most viscerally felt and the most tangible by these American people. Jordan, any final thoughts before we move on to the next story?
I mean, when you look at these stories in aggregate, gutting the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, immigration policies that are going to result in an economic contraction, and still, I mean, we're a couple months in now. Have we seen anything, any plan at all, even like a tangible, substantive mention of a plan to address the cost of living and ever rising prices? If so, I've missed it, but it doesn't seem like they actually are making that a priority. It is about culture war fights, it's about nationalistic immigration policies and a pro corporate future where there is little to no regulation, where we all get screwed.
Yeah. Yeah, so that is the future that we have to look forward to, which is a lot of fun. So on that note, let's move on to our next story. This is things aren't going well for the Trump administration right now. A lot of back and forth is happening, and it's a little embarrassing. So the Trump administration currently is working very hard to undo some of the damage that they have caused themselves, both for themselves and for the American people. And they're struggling now to rehire some federal workers that they have, maybe possibly on accident, maybe a little too hastily, let go from crucial government positions, specifically from the USDA, the US Department of Agriculture. In a sweeping worker purge, they have gotten rid of American workers who are responsible for curbing things like the spread of avian flu. And since they have gotten rid of so many of those workers, what is happening? Avian flu is spreading around the country. Let's see. The Trump administration and Elon are now asking those workers to return to the jobs from which they were so unceremoniously dismissed. These people were let go with completely disrespectfully of the work that they do, of the lives that they lead, and their work was undervalued, and they were made to be political pawns in this game that Elon Musk is playing with the American people at the behest of Donald Trump. Never forget that everything Elon is doing is with the approval of Donald Trump. So never separate the two of them from that. So about 25% of relevant staff were let go in the purge of the USDA, specifically inspectors and scientists from an office that helped to prevent the spread of avian flu. And without that adequate staff in place, it is spreading. This is reporting from the Daily Beast. It says now in more than a dozen states, the flu is spreading beyond birds to dairy cows. Egg prices have now doubled since the outbreak began, with a dozen costing over $12 in some places. That's $1 per egg. That's crazy. The USDA projects that prices will climb 40% this year. Last month, the prediction was 20%. Denny's and Waffle House have even added egg surcharges to their menus, and that's crazy. How much do you want to bet also that if and when egg prices do actually go down, that those surcharges are going to stay on the menu? Because why not? They're already getting away with charging for it. So, not to mention the Easter egg roll is coming up for the White House. So I wonder how that's going to go. As far as the optics are concerned, that'll be kind of interesting to see. The irony is that these workers were let go in the name of curbing excessive government spending. But now the administration has announced a $1 billion plan to fight the avian flu, which is what those let go workers were already doing, probably for a lot less money than $1 billion. So now the USDA is in a hole. Elon Musk and Doge and Donald Trump have dug that hole for them. And now they need the workers back, but the workers don't necessarily want to come back. So from an anonymous source from the USDA, they told Politico, I don't know if people are going to want to come back. Now there's this perception that federal jobs are not secure. And I think they permanently damage these services. Yeah, so it is very scary because people aren't able to get jobs anymore and build a career with a company, build their life with like any kind of plan for a stable income coming in or any kind of stability. So it is very stressful for people. And another worker said, rather than measure twice and cut once, it's more like everyone is on the chopping block and then, oh no, we cut the wrong people. Yeah, that's what's happening. No, who is in charge here? Nobody who knows. So the rehirings that are happening are not going very smoothly either. Department heads now have to issue justification for all of the rehiring. So they have to tell this department that needs these people back, who already acknowledges that they were let go and they should not have been, and that they are valuable. Now the department heads have to come and say, this is why these people need to be rehired. The whole reason why they have to rehire them is because Doge already knows that they need to be rehired. So I don't know what the point of any of this is, but this just feels like another example of the Department of Government Efficiency, who hates anything bureaucratic, operating in such a way that is excessively bureaucratic and very inefficient. So some of the workers who have already been rehired have not regained access to their work laptops yet, so also very inefficient. And some who have been rehired were informed via email by the administration that they're likely to just be fired again once the crisis has been averted, once they are again no longer necessary or no longer deemed to be necessary. So this is kind of like what we were talking about in the last story, Jordan. The price of eggs is out of control. And it seems like now Republican voters, Trump supporters, are starting to understand more viscerally the fact that the economy is dependent on very, very a multitude of things, right? A lot of times, like during the Biden administration, anytime the price of anything goes up, they're quick to say this is Joe Biden's fault, right? They can't do that anymore because Joe Biden is no longer the president, and they're not going to blame Trump for the things that are uncomfortable in their lives because he can't be the one doing it. So all of a sudden, whereas most of us would have understood that the economy has so many factors going into it and you can't always pinpoint the blame on the president, they're learning now that like, oh, avian flu is the reason why the price of eggs is so high, or at least one of the reasons why the price of eggs is so high. And the Trump administration, however, has not done anything to help that particular aspect. So in a lot of ways, this particular economic issue is the fault, or is, the ongoing nature of it is the fault of the Trump administration, but they're not going to admit that.
Yeah, and you mentioned something earlier that I want to pick back up on. You're talking about these restaurants raising prices or adding egg surcharges, and you say they probably won't lower the prices later on. And I think that's exactly right. The Pepsi CEO was on CNBC about a month ago and admitted consumers are getting used to higher price points. They're just saying it. Like, they're used to it. Why would we lower the prices if we've already made them comfortable and our practices have already been assimilated? Why would we change? So yeah, the prices are going to just remain high. Why would the Trump administration lower do anything to lower the costs if they see that their costs, these company costs, are back to a lower point, but the prices are high? All that means is more profit for them. So they're going to keep them high. And you talk about these cuts and the firings and layoffs. Yes, and things like this, it's disastrous, but there's more. And they're also misrepresenting what they're doing. There's been reporting recently on what Doge has allegedly cut, and the numbers are at best murky, if not completely outright fabricated. So one cut of reportedly $8 billion at ICE was actually for 8 million, a sizable gap. There were three $655 million cuts at USAID that were actually just one single cut, erroneously reported 3 different times, and a $232 million cut at the Social Security Administration was actually just for $565,000. So it was off by 231 million. And Elon has said, oh, well, sometimes we're going to make mistakes, but we'll fix them right away. And the example he gave the other day was, oh, we accidentally cut funding for Ebola prevention, but we restored it immediately. Don't worry. Except reporting at the Washington Post shows that funding hasn't been restored. So when you have a bunch of people from private industry and with zero government experience, especially when you're talking about young kids like 18, 19, 20-year-olds who are just going in and being overworked by Musk out of loyalty, you're going to see more incidents like this that are going to exacerbate current crises or create new ones.
Yeah, and for all of Elon Musk and his posturing about how he wants to be transparent with the American people, the numbers, as he pointed out so succinctly, do not add up, right? They keep saying they've already cut $55 billion from the government. Where? It's not there. It's not even on the Doge website. If you go and you add up the numbers, it's nowhere near $55 billion. And they still have so much more that they want to do. And even after it was called out that they made some kind of errors in their reporting, that number hasn't changed. They still stick to their claim of $55 billion. The numbers don't add up. And so many people are still supporting this initiative and this guy and this department. And it's kind of baffling. And you have to assume that they just don't know what's actually going on, or they just want to believe that what is happening is eventually going to trickle down to them and make their overall satisfaction with life better. That is a big ask. That is a hefty ask, especially if you're expecting that kind of thing from your government. You're not going to be happy because of anything Elon Musk is doing right now. And we'll see what the ripple effects of all this are going to be. We're going to have so many people unemployed in this country, and there seems to be no plan to address the incoming crisis that we're about to see. So with that, let's take our next break. We'll be right back. Welcome to the break. Let's take a look at some of your comments here. Oh, lots of comments. Okay, let's see. TYT member comments. We have Asimov's Prophet says, so we are resurrecting the profession of slave catcher. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I doubt they would have such a catchy name for it, but we do have militias and things like that are incoming, it would appear. So everybody buckle up. I got Hank Hillass, nice name, says has gifted 1 damage report membership. Thank you very much. And Christopher Big Bear, member for 19 months. Thank you very much. Says, I haven't seen the Rangers hat in a while, Jordan. Is that a reflection of the season?
Yeah, not their best season. No, I've just gotten new hats that go with more things. That's all.
That's all you need. Good. I'm happy for you for diversifying. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to diversify. All right. Leox Smoking Shadow Dragon says, gifted $2. Thank you. Says, Yaz, don't forget a sign off today. Okay, bye-bye. I did forget to do a sign off. I don't know. We'll see what happens when we get to the end. I'll think about it then at that moment and we'll improvise, but I'm not a great improviser. So Neil Whittington, did new clue, gifted $5, says, OMG, Don Hitler, he deports rather than kills who he doesn't like. POS, criminal fraud, rapist, felon. Too bad it just grazed his ear. That is a lot. That is a lot. But I understand that people are frustrated and upset, and people have a lot of feelings, and we don't know what to do with them, right? It can be very frustrating, and we're all just trying to get through these next few years. And hopefully, all we can hope for is that on the other side of things, there's a little bit more rationality and substance to where we're headed. Jeff Test Pilot says this is just preparing the ground for AI and the massive number of layoffs that is going to cause. Yeah, that's a great point, and that's kind of what we were alluding to in the last story, that we're going to see a lot of unemployment going forward. They want to run this government like it is a business. It is not a business. There are two different things. They have different goals. Businesses, however, all they want is efficiency, right? And one of the biggest expenditures of a business is employees and labor. So if they can eliminate that, then who cares what happens to the American people? And we'll see. It's very scary, and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of long-term thinking or a plan as to what's going to happen with all these people. Simon Moody says, Yasdarola. Okay. Why is my brain trying to picture John with Yaz's hair now? At least it's not me with John's hair. I don't like that at all. I think he could probably pull this off. Also, I cut off like a foot of my hair and no one said anything. Can I just point that out? After my wedding, I chopped all my hair off. All right. So Wesley says the only way they'd ever get those numbers, the deportation numbers, I'm assuming, is by not bothering to check and just scooping everyone up. Yeah, yeah. And a lot of the people who are in charge of, regulations and making sure that people are doing their jobs correctly and humanely and ethically, all of those jobs are getting eliminated too. So, and Jeff Test Pilot again says, how many MAGA folks are going to volunteer and go and work in the fields to replace the people that they deported? Or is the stuff you going to rot in the fields? It's going to rot. Okay, yeah. So a lot of these jobs basically are not going to be replaced because the people who want all these people deported, they're not going to step up to want to do those jobs. So good stuff. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. I'm Yasmin Khan in for John Iadarola today, and I'm joined by Jordan Uhl. Let's get into this next story. Let's roll the tape.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
Yes, I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would.
That was a fun interview, if you guys remember that one. But it was a lot of phony stuff is in there, he said. So in the interview, he was asked if he would be willing to declassify a lot of files if and when he became president. He said, yeah, JFK, sure. Alien, sure. Epstein, though, maybe, let's be smart about this. Let's not be too hasty with this. But, the obvious implication there was that he doesn't want that particular file released because his name is on the Epstein list, most likely. I mean, we already see pictures of the two of them together, but we actually do have confirmation from his own attorney general that yes, Donald Trump is on the list. This is a headline that says Donald Trump named in Jeffrey Epstein flight logs released by his own attorney general. And according to the logs, Trump flew with his then wife, Marla Maples, and daughter Tiffany with Epstein twice. So we will get into what was actually released, but we do have to let you know about all of the chaos and the surrounding the release, because this is what it was found. The whole saga started on Fox News on Wednesday when Pam Bondi announced that the Epstein documents would be released on the following day, specifically the flight logs. And those are the same flight logs where Trump's name can be found. Rather than releasing them publicly, however, 15 right-wing influencers got copies to take photos with and bring home. And this includes Jack Posobiec, DC Drano, Chaya Rychik, and others. Obviously, this wasn't exactly what was promised as far as the release, and other right-wingers are mad about it. They're not happy about it, including Laura Loomer, Trump's BFF Laura Loomer. She said on X, there are no Epstein files. The binders are props. Every single one of those right-wing paid influencers lied to all of you today. They engage in deception to run cover for pedophiles. They posted selfies with prop binders, liars, and deceivers. Okay, so seemingly just to make a bad situation even worse, the GOP House Judiciary Committee posted this. Oh, they rickrolled him. How fun. It's been a while since I've seen a rickroll. Wouldn't have expected it here, but that's what I get. So let's get this all straight. So they campaign on their opponents being pedophiles, right? And then they release the documents, and then the documents seem to prove that these people are pedophiles. And then you delay for over a month until releasing it. And then there's like a hand-picked selection of allies. You release it to these people, and these are right-wing influencers who, up until now, were celebrated by the right wing, including by people like Trump. And then they rickroll people who want to see what was promised to be uncovered. So a lot of it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's hard to keep track of. It's hard to keep track of all of the cognitive dissonance and all of the reversals. There is no loyalty either with these people. So what is their solution to all the backlash? They want to blame the deep state for all of this, of course, because that's what they do. Reporting from The Independent said in a public letter, Bondi asked newly confirmed FBI Director Kash Patel to investigate why, after repeated requests for their release, thousands of documents related to the Epstein probe had allegedly been withheld. In a post on X, Patel said that there will be no cover-ups, no missing documents, no stone left unturned. So the government, though, however, is controlled by Elon Musk and it's controlled by Donald Trump. So, Jordan, do you have any thoughts on the situation so far? What do you make of this?
Yeah, it was extremely funny to watch Trump round up a bunch of the dumbest and most credulous right-wing influencers, bring them to the Oval Office, give them a binder full of documents that were totally redacted for material that has been available unredacted online for years, and watch them wave these binders around like they got some exclusive first look at some confidential information. It was a stunt. They are clearly trying to cover up the contents of those documents. As you reported, Trump has known Epstein, or did know Epstein. He associated with him. I can't imagine that he is comfortable with any connections that he has being included in any of those documents. So what we'll see is heavily redacted or partial information. I saw someone call it the Twitter files for the Epstein documents. It is somebody, or it is a similar practice where they give partial and selective information to accommodating or sympathetic figures who will then go out and help spin the narrative.
Yeah, and I think this is just such a good example of the fact that we need to be so diligent and so vigilant whenever we're consuming online media. Even if you're watching this show, like just be careful. We do our best here to give you accurate and good information, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't read more into the things that we say here. So the Trump Epstein revelations that is being reported by people reviewed the flight logs and found that Trump's name was listed a total of 7 times. He was mentioned on page 24 of the first flight log dated October 11th, 1993. He was also mentioned twice on page 27, along with his then wife, Marla Maples, their daughter, Tiffany Trump, and a nanny on May 15th, 1994. All 3 of those dates had J.E., Jeffrey Epstein, listed on the same flights as Trump. GM, possibly Ghislaine Maxwell, was listed as a passenger on the October 1993 flight. So here is what was actually released. The roughly 200 pages of documents that Ms. Bondi released on Thursday contained little new information pointing to wrongdoing by anyone other than Mr. Epstein, a registered sex offender who died in jail. The document dump largely consisted of flight logs for Mr. Epstein's planes, long ago made public, and contained information for hundreds of associates, along with brief descriptions of items found at his residence. So it's a little confusing because it seems they want to deliver on this thing, so they want to appear as if they don't have anything to hide, but it's hard to appear as though you have nothing to hide if you're just redacting everything anyway. So, Jordan, any final thoughts?
It's ridiculous. Like, all of these alleged document dumps are going to be heavily redacted or selective. And they say he's the most transparent president, and this is the most transparent administration in history. And we know it's not. It's more spin, it's more puffery, and it's more propaganda.
Yeah. So we're going to try and squeeze in one last story before we end the hour. And it's about Elon Musk. You guys, a lot of Elon Musk these days. So if you're tired of it, so are we. But Tesla is facing some backlash now because of Elon Musk and a lot of his work at Doge, right? So he has permanently harmed the reputation of the companies that he leads with his very harmful and corrupt actions at Doge, or at least actions that are perceived to be as such. And now the chickens are coming home to roost, and his stock is tanking. It continues to tank. After 6 straight days of losses, one Tesla shareholder used Musk's own words against him. This is over on X. It says, Elon Musk tweeted, "If any judge anywhere can block every presidential order everywhere, we do not have a democracy. We have tyranny of the judiciary." But this person responded saying, "Please share 5 things you did for Tesla shareholders this week, or are you working remotely?" Asking for all of us. And this is obviously in reference to these letters that Doge sent out to federal workers demanding that they detail 5 things that they do with their jobs in order to justify their jobs to these Doge officials and to the Trump administration. A lot of people found it to be very insulting, very inefficient, and they're saying we just want a proof of life. But what is Elon Musk doing in the meantime with his own companies? And he's tanking his own stock as he's doing all these other things that he doesn't need to be doing. So the backlash is coming in toward Elon Musk from all places, right? You have Sheryl Crow, the singer. She sold her Tesla. I think I actually saw this post on Instagram where she sold her Tesla, and she is donating the funds now to NPR, which is one of the media outlets that Elon Musk is targeting with his work at Doge. Also, you have regular people who have purchased Teslas in the past, and now they're regretting that decision. They're regretting their association with Elon Musk. And so they're putting bumper stickers like this one on the back of their cars saying things like, "I bought this before Elon went crazy," or "I bought this before I knew how crazy he was," right? So to be fair, and we have to be fair, some people have pointed out that the stock is still noticeably higher than it was before Trump was reelected and back in office. It was about 15% higher. So while this is true, this is also true. Tesla stock is down from a pre-inauguration high of nearly $500 per share. And you can see it here. This is from CNBC. And it shows that it's down 29%. So it's a loss of 41%. The stock has begun to decline ahead of the inauguration, but after Musk's the salute heard around the world, things really started to tank. And this is a headline from The Independent, says Tesla's stock sinks by 26% in wake of Elon Musk's Nazi salute at a Trump rally. So Musk received criticism for that across the political spectrum from both the left-wingers and the right-wingers. Even one Tesla manager and engineer got fired for responding to this salute on LinkedIn. Jared Ottman responded to Elon Musk's tweet where he had a whole bunch of Nazi-related puns, and including one that says, "Bet you did not see that coming," with a crying from laughter emoji. And Jordan said, "Well, we have seen it coming. Elon's behavior, whatever the underlying motivations, are well documented. Starting in 2022, and especially the last week, I've raised the issue internally multiple times with managers, HR, legal compliance, investor relations. And while overwhelmingly people offer personal support, Tesla as a company has remained silent." Also, from The Independent, we have some reporting that says Musk, the richest man in the world, derives approximately 60% of his wealth from his Tesla shares, according to Fortune, with the company's stock dwindling around 25% over the last month. Musk's net worth could be down more than $50 billion. And Jordan, that's such a good point because so much of Elon Musk's wealth and his net worth is derived from government contracts and from speculative, from the stock market, basically, right? From the valuation of all of his companies that he's working for. So a lot of people believe that one of the ways to curb Elon Musk and his influence over the government and over the world in general is to affect his valuation and to affect his stock price, because that is where he's going to feel the most retribution from the people toward him and toward his companies and towards his actions and his values, et cetera. So what do you think? Is this going to have any kind of impact on him, or do you think it's just going to bounce back eventually?
You know, so much of car prices and consumer behavior towards cars is about status. And for a while, Teslas were the standard ones were seen as like the pinnacle of EVs. But if you look at the quarter four, like actually any of last year, 2024, you saw Tesla's market share decline and domestic and other competitor manufacturers rise with an increase in EV sales. There was a huge jump over the past few years. Part of that's through tax credits and incentives. So it's a mix of a few different things, but then Tesla stock has always been knocked as overinflated and partially speculative. So you would assume that because they're dominant, because they have such a high market share, more people later down the line are going to buy those Teslas. Well, you can't be as confident now because of his behavior that potential or prospective Tesla buyers would go with a Tesla when you have other competitors at lower price points made by domestic manufacturers and growing market share for those competitors. There's a lot of different factors that feed into it. I'm not sure this rebounds, and it just seems to continue to decline when many people don't want to be associated with these cars anymore.
Yeah, and it's not just the cars. Like that could be a reason why he's going so much for these government contracts, because he does get a lot of his money from those. So let's see what happens with the FAA. Maybe that'll be his new cash cow. So with that, we have to take a break. That is it for the first hour. We will see you in the aftermath. Be right back. Welcome to the aftermath of the damage report. I'm Yasmin Khan in for John Iadarola. I just want to read this one comment from Benjamin Morrill. He gifted $5. It says, I felt it too improper to mention the amazing do Yaz, but if we are allowed, you are slaying. And that is in reference to my haircut. So thank you very much for recognizing my haircut. It was a big change. It's a big deal to chop off like a foot of your hair. So anyway. Now is the time. We're ready to do garbage people of the week. Is there a bumper? Oh, there's no bumper. Okay. Jordan, do you want to start us off on your garbage person? Who do you have?
Of course. My garbage person is really garbage people. And it is the mainstream media for continuing to fold to Trump at every opportunity, despite this term being so much more dangerous than the first. I have to begin with the massive update to one of the biggest examples of this kowtowing, Jeff Bezos' effective ending of the opinion section at the Washington Post. Bezos had announced a new focus on defending, quote, personal liberties and free markets, which is code for, of course, only right-wing and pro-business op-eds. But what Trump said yesterday really made this eye-opening. Trump said he dined with Jeff Bezos the same day as the Washington Post opinion section shakeup. Now, just for context, he said that other stances, other ideas, and other topics can be discussed at other publications, but these pro-business, these free markets and personal liberties, they're underrepresented in the media. And I think you might agree with me, Yaz, that they're not underrepresented. In fact, they are oversaturated in our corporate and mainstream media. But also in October, Bezos blocked the Post from endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris. And that's not the only suspiciously timed move. Trump posted this on Saturday. MSNBC, commonly known as MSDNC, is a threat to our democracy. Such lying and misrepresentation, bad people at the top. By Monday, one of the network's biggest critics of Trump, Joy-Ann Reid, had learned that her show had been canceled and replaced with a panel show, including some more Trump-friendly panelists. And you can see the news of her ouster there. Don't even get me started on the needless payouts. Yes, I'll just spiral out of control. ABC News paid Trump $15 million. Meta paid him $25 million. Musk's Twitter paid Trump $10 million. And now the big one with CBS's 60 Minutes could potentially land Trump a big payday. Paramount and Trump agree to appoint mediator to settle $20 billion lawsuit over 60 Minutes' Kamala Harris interview. These are all settlements which are effectively just gifts to Trump to end the case, let bygones be bygones, but also hand Trump a huge bag of cash. In a statement posted on its website, CBS News asserted that the released transcript confirmed that the broadcast, quote, was not doctored or deceitful, but yet they're waiting to settle a case that they have almost no chance of losing. Seems pretty cowardly. I mean, these are people, Yaz, that are supposed to hold the powerful to account, and yet they're just comforting the powerful.
Yeah, this whole presidency just seems like a way for Trump to make more money for himself, which is a lot of what he did during his first presidency. But that wasn't enough to deter people from voting for him a second or even third time. And it's very distressing to see what's happening in media. And again, I just want to reiterate, we have to be very careful where we're getting our media from. And remember that a lot of these organizations, these big media organizations, despite the fact that they do have a lot of good journalists who are trying to do good work there and trying to deliver accurate, good news to the American people, they're up against a lot, right? They have to deal with people like Jeff Bezos, who got directly involved in the Washington Post decision to not endorse Kamala Harris. That's crazy. And then the fact that they got rid of their opinion section is also crazy. It's like the opinions can't be trusted to be enough pro-Trump. So just get rid of the whole thing, eliminate the risk entirely. It's very upsetting. I don't like that at all. But with that, Jordan, I have a contender. I have a challenger to your garbage person of the week. Here is who I have. My garbage person of the week is South Carolina Representative Joe Wilson, and it is for this reason. Look at this headline. It says, GOP rep proposes new $250 bill with Trump's face on it, and it is the idea to fight back against Bidenflation, and that's how he's going to do it with this $250 bill, which feels just like inflation, right? But you have to see it. Like, this is the funniest thing. It is as hideous as you can imagine. This is what we get for AI. Joe Wilson posted this picture of a potential $250 bill. It is in color. It doesn't even look like an American dollar bill. And he says, grateful to announce that I am drafting legislation to direct the Bureau of Engraving and Printing to design a $250 bill featuring Donald J. Trump. Bidenflation has destroyed the economy, forcing American families to carry more cash. Most valuable bill for the most valuable president. Is that true? Like, I don't even know. It's just like, put the AI down, just move on. Like, let's just move on from all of this. This is crazy. But before you get too nervous about this bill actually being produced, the US law, we have US laws in place that forbid putting any kind of living person on any kind of currency or notes, bonds, securities, whatever. So at least for now, we're not going to have to worry about this Trump $250 bill. And the problem is, the issue that I have is like, it's just more sycophancy towards Donald Trump. And that in and of itself is very destructive to a democracy and to a government, because we're not able to validly criticize our leaders if we're so obsessed with them. You know, if we're just like feeling all this weird like limerence or infatuation, whatever it is with these people. So take a look at these other things that GOP officials have proposed in an effort to suck up to Donald Trump. We have New York Congresswoman who introduced a bill to make Trump's birthday a federal holiday. We have a diehard MAGA rep who introduced a bill to carve Trump's face onto Mount Rushmore. And this is my favorite one. A Republican unveiled a bill to rename Greenland to Red, White, and Blue Land if the United States acquires or takes over by force Greenland. That is insane. It's so unnecessary. It reminds me a lot of what was happening back in like 2000, 2001 with like the Freedom Fries and all these things. It was just so, it was all just playing patriotism, right? It was just like showing that you're the most patriotic. And it was always this fight to see who could be the most patriotic all the time. So Jordan, what do you think of my garbage person?
I forgot until I saw that news this week. I forgot that Joe Wilson was still in Congress. It felt like after he shouted "You lie" at Obama during was it like a 2009 or 10 State of the Union that he just vanished. I never hear his name anymore. So I saw that and it's like, oh
yeah, I
yeah,
forgot about
it's like, oh, he's back, or he's doing something now. And this is what what's that?
No, he's doing so little. Like, to say he's doing something, it's almost comical, right? Like, I get your point, but it's so silly that this is a person who's in Congress and this is what he's doing is this. So, but let's go to the poll and see what you guys said. Cast your vote. Who is your garbage person of the week? And 68% of you said it was Trump for cozying up for Vladimir Putin specifically, because I think Trump could be a recurring name on this list. 9% of you said MSNBC for canceling Joy Reid's show, or as Jordan said, the MSDNC, as it is commonly known. I didn't know that. I've never heard that before, but I guess I'm not running in those circles. 12% of you said Kash Patel for purging the FBI and committing perjury. Yeah, perjury is not great, especially if you're at the FBI. And 10% of you said Speaker Johnson for his prayers that allowed the budget bill to pass. So you got, take, if you need help, you should pray, I guess. And that is what Speaker Johnson is doing. And he seems to be doing a lot of that lately. So with that, we're going to move on to our next story. Comedian Bill Burr is taking on Ben Shapiro, or vice versa, however you want to look at it. It's kind of a one-sided view that is happening, and it involves Ben Shapiro and Bill Burr, and it is very entertaining to say the least. It all began with Ben Shapiro's think piece, so-called think piece on Bill Burr, where he says Bill Burr goes full a-hole. This week, he explained that he is perfectly fine with CEOs having to live with full-time security because they fear they might be shot. It's not exactly what Bill Burr said. We'll get into that. But what prompted Shapiro to write this is not only that Bill Burr called out billionaires to be put down like rabid dogs, but he also hated Bill Burr's Broadway debut. Like, the things that Ben Shapiro is mad about, like why does he have to add a Broadway debut to this? So the headline from the New York Times shows that Bill Burr is about to hit Broadway. Broadway better duck, it says. The acerbic comic sounds like a Mamet character, and thanks to Nathan Lane, he's making his Broadway debut as one in Glengarry Glen Ross. Nathan Lane, Broadway icon. So here are Ben Shapiro's criticisms of Bill Burr. He said in the Daily Wire, it turned out to be one of the worst shows I've ever seen in my life because Burr has become woke. Over time, I think he became embarrassed that many people on the right thought he was very funny, so he decided he was going to go woke. I don't know what going woke or being woke has to do with your performance in a Broadway play, but Ben Shapiro has made that correlation somehow, doesn't really back it up. Also, the right just loves to say that things are woke when they don't like it or if it makes them uncomfortable. So Ben Shapiro continued, he said, Burr openly cheered the murder of the United Healthcare executive because he says CEOs should live in fear if they don't act in a way that he would have them act in a system that he has no fixes for, by the way. What he said is truly evil. He's saying you should live in fear if you're a CEO of a company that does things that Burr deems to be bad or wrong. Bill Burr he's a comedian, so he's allowed to criticize things and not offer solutions for them because he's not an elected official in government. Neither is Ben Shapiro, by the way, but no one's expecting him to have any policy solutions for us either. So Bill Burr, meanwhile, is completely unbothered by any of this. So according to the New York Times, when I tell him that the right-wing media figure Ben Shapiro said he is going woke, Burr shot back, all he knew is if he put woke on what I said, he would make more money. I don't know who he is, but that guy is a jerk off. And that is succinctly put. And he's absolutely right. A lot of these commentators, you put things in the headline and you put things in your videos and you say these things that are going to be inflammatory because the nature of the media landscape today, especially the online media landscape, Jordan, you and I are very familiar with that particular landscape. A lot of it is, unfortunately, it is a lot about numbers, right? You still have to get the views if you want an audience, if you want a platform and things like that. So a lot of us have to play the game, whether or not we like it. But I think at least I think you as well, like we try to do that in a way that is authentic and is not misleading our audience or not like provoking them beyond like the rage that should innately be felt at the things that are happening to the American people and in the government. It's a tricky line to teeter, though. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I've like really grown fond of Bill Burr over the past few weeks. He just like all of his comments are just like hilarious.
Yeah.
His read on the current moment is hysterical. But yeah, he's totally right. Ben Shapiro doesn't really know how to handle that, so he's like, "Well, it's woke, so you have to hate it." But there's no substance or thought there. I mean, he didn't care about Bill Burr when he was attacking Michelle Obama. He didn't care about Bill Burr or call him woke when he was insulting male feminists. He didn't go after Bill Burr when he was saying offensive things during his comedy sets or calling white women the C word. But once he started going after the United Healthcare CEO, then he's woke. Now Ben Shapiro has to step in. It's like, come on, man. You can't just slap one joke or one line with the woke label and decry a comedian and the totality of his career. I mean, the guy says offensive things to get a laugh. That's who he is. He's funny. If you don't like it, just don't listen to him. So I mean, I thought these were the people who liked free expression and thought snowflake liberals were too sensitive. Who's crying now?
Yeah, and the thing is, like, of all people to criticize for their views and opinions, Bill Burr, again, is a comedian. He's not anybody who is affecting anything in our government right now. There are far better people to be criticizing, even for somebody like Ben Shapiro. But I think it's also low hanging fruit to criticize a comedian who is as outspoken as Bill Burr is. Also, I just want to point out that the things that Ben Shapiro accused Bill Burr of saying and supporting, he didn't really say that, right? All he was saying in his criticism of the United Healthcare CEO shooting was that you can't blame people for being mad at people like this healthcare CEO. You have to understand that people are mad not just at the CEO, but at the whole institution of healthcare in this country. People are suffering and people are going to snap if you keep, telling sick people that they're not covered for things that they have been paying for. So that was his statements, but Ben Shapiro misrepresented them all along the way. So let's see. We do have some more comments I want to get to real quick. Let's see what we have before we end the show. No, I don't have more comments, Mike. Do I? Never mind. You know what? I do want to get to this last story real quick, and I think we can do it very quickly. Yeah, how much time do we have? All right. So this is about Andrew Tate and his brother, and they have been in Romania for a few years, since 2022, and they're both accused of sex trafficking, running a sex trafficking operation. They were under investigation over in Romania, and they arrived in Florida yesterday to an expected MAGA welcome. So why are they here? Why are they back in the United States? Specifically, why are they back in Florida? Who's happy about it and who isn't happy about it? The MAGA fight that ensued was between the Trump administration and Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, with Ron DeSantis saying that Tate was not welcome in Florida before suggesting that he may remove him from the state if he even has the authority to do so. Here is what DeSantis had to say.
We have no involvement in that. I read about it through the media. Clearly, the federal government has jurisdiction, whether they want to rebuff his entry into the United States. I do know our Attorney General, James Uthmeyer, is looking at what state hooks and jurisdiction we may have to be able to deal with this. But the reality is no, Florida is not a place where you're welcome with that type of conduct in the air. And I don't know how it came to this.
Okay, so how did we get to this point? Ron DeSantis himself seems a little confused as to how Andrew Tate ended up in his state, especially without any forewarning for him. So, according to reporting from The Intercept, Trump might be behind it, or at least his administration. President Donald Trump's administration has successfully lobbied to bring Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan back to the US from Romania, where Tate faces charges of human trafficking, sexual misconduct, and money laundering. At an international conference, Trump's special envoy, Richard Grenell, pressed Romanian authorities to lift travel restrictions on the self-described misogynist influencer, per the Financial Times. But when asked about any of this, whether or not he had a hand in getting Andrew Tate back into the United States, Trump acted like he had no idea. Here he is. This is a post from C-SPAN on X. President Trump on Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate's release. He said, "I know nothing about that. I don't know. I just know nothing about it. We'll check it out." So, like, he knows nothing. And okay, allegedly he knows nothing. That's what he wants you to believe. We'll see how this all shakes out regarding Trump and his involvement in getting Andrew Tate back to the United States. But in the meantime, MAGA is not happy with Ron DeSantis for speaking out against Andrew Tate. To begin, Laura Loomer, Trump's BFF, referenced Trump's efforts in getting Tate here back to the US from Romania, saying, after news broke, to which Candace Owens responded, Laura Loomer said, after news broke this morning that the Trump administration helped the Tate brothers leave Romania and come back to the United States today, Ron DeSantis said Cobra Tate and Tate the Talisman, that's Andrew and Tristan, are not welcome in Florida. The Tate brothers are US citizens. Good thing Ron isn't the president. And Candace Owens responded, utterly deranged thing for a governor of any state to say American citizens will not be allowed back on American soil, per Governor Ron DeSantis. It's not exactly what he was saying. Again, just a reminder, this guy was accused, he was charged with sex trafficking and also for having sexual relations with a minor. He wasn't convicted of anything, but he was under investigation. So, also, failed Secretary of State candidate Valentina Gomez tweeted this about it, says Ron DeSantis is a hypocrite. Andrew and Tristan have gone through the same allegations Trump, Hegseth, Conor McGregor, and many other extremely successful men have faced. Welcome to America. And the Save the Children / the Protect Women crowd, they want this guy to be seen as, completely a victim in all of this. This is just cancel culture. This is just lawfare that is targeting these guys. But again, Andrew Tate, a lot of the reasons why people hate him is because of his own words, right? The things that he has said on his own platform to his millions of followers, often very impressionable young men or boys who are watching this guy. So he's not a good person. The things that he's espousing are not very pro-women at all. Again, he's a self-proclaimed misogynist. And this is the guy who, the MAGA movement, who again just is against all sex trafficking, human trafficking, any kind of grooming, that kind of thing. But they tend to give passes to guys who are on their side of things politically. Jordan, what do you think about the Tates coming back?
I mean, it's more about his actions, or their actions, or alleged actions, than their words. But those three that you pick to show them showing sympathy for the Tates, it's so funny because it's like the three biggest pick-me's on the right. Like, they're the anti-feminist women, but also the failed congressional candidate Tryhard, who made all those ads about how she was going to kill pedos. Odd hill to die on here, I'll say that. But it's a mess. It's rare to see DeSantis do something sensible, but why would any governor want them in their state?
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, we're going to wrap this show. Jordan, we're going to be back tonight for the main show. So we will see you guys later. And I don't have a sign off. I still don't have a sign off, even though somebody tried to help me. I don't have it. So we'll see you tonight. Bye.